Hello, my dear friends. Wow, that was such an amazing music, such a beautiful meditation, my dear friends. Today is a lovely day, uh, and we are going to start every day with a beautiful meditation, my dear friends. For all the 25, for till the 25th of February, for the 21-day plant-based challenge. And I welcome you all beautiful souls, all my beautiful friends, my masters, my gods, to this event for the day 13 of the 21-day plant-based challenge, my dear friends. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you to try this thing out, to say no to meat, to eggs, to fish, and to dairy. So I really applaud each and every one of you to try this diet out, to try this new thing, the new living, the new habit of leaving all the animal products aside and surviving only on plant-based food, my dear friends. Kudos to each and every one of you for making a lifestyle change, for at least attempting to try it out, to experiment on yourself. And today we are going to have a special guest among us, and I would like to invite Radhika Mehrotra Tonk, who is a rewiring mindset coach, psychic medium, tarot and oracle card maven, intuitive life writer, a poet, and our beloved pyramid master. Because I too am a pyramid master. Yes, thank you so much, Radhika, for making it happen in this event with us. And uh, this is such a beautiful thing for us, and uh, I cherish all the moments that we have had all through these days,
Yes.
and this journey is ongoing. This journey is ongoing. The plant-based, journey, that life is ongoing, and we have had many people ask so many questions and everything. So, nevertheless, welcome Radhika to this event, and please introduce yourself, because we all want to know everything about you, what you are, where are you from, what do you do, what is your spiritual journey, everything.
Thank you, Akka, for a beautiful welcome. First question, am I audible? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
Super. Okay. So, hi, as she told everyone, I am Radhika. I am from Delhi, originally born in Kanpur, married in Cuttack, and presently here for all my dharma, and also to rewire myself as I go on this journey. So, my journey started truly with coming to PSSM. That was in the year 2015 when a dear friend got me to the pyramid here in Delhi at Shastri, at beautiful Shastri's place where we have this amazing Parinirvana pyramid at the rooftop. Beautiful family. I was welcomed like their own kid because they have two beautiful daughters, and nonetheless, they treated me like a daughter. and and it was from that point that I understood that spirituality was all about being in this moment, living this life as we are in this human body, cherishing every moment as a beautiful best friend. And our guru Patriji also tells every day that we have to be in the sansar to be who we are, to not back down from all the challenges that comes to us. Meditate, be a vegetarian, meditate as much, be a vegetarian, spread vegetarianism, spread meditation, and that is all you need to do. Everything else is a journey. It comes through as you do it. Before I start today my journey with Parinita Akka here, there's a small thing that I want to share, and I think we will discover more of it as we go on. Is I was a non-vegetarian at one point in time, and it was 10 years ago. Not that it was a regular habit that I would eat it every day. It was there, but it was there, and I can't undo it. But today, when I see it in a broader perspective, it is because I had to teach today, or I had to enable people to tell them why we should not be consuming it. So, and as she already has mentioned, that I do a lot of spiritual, esoteric I involve myself in this. That is who I am and what I am, and yeah, that's about me, I guess.
Wow, that's a very short intro of yours. There's a lot for you to share. Oh my God, I was actually waiting for more to come. Tell me, like, when you first entered into spirituality, as you said in 2015, when you, I think that's when you first met Patriji. How was it? How was the experience of meeting him for the first time, and what was going on inside you?
Okay, so it was so actually I did not meet him in 2015. It was in the month of December that I actually came to the Pyramid Meditation Center, and it was in October that I had started meditating in the same year. And it was my luck that it was just the next year that I got a chance to meet Sir, because he was here for New Year's. He was on a Mon, and I tell this to everyone: when you really find your guru, your best friend in a guru, actually one who is not a fraud, one who's not there to preach, who's not there to tell you to do different movements and do whatnot, but is there to hold you, to guide you. I just looked into his eyes. Initially I was smiling, then I was crying. I don't know what was happening to me, and he was right there, standing in his own truth, and that authenticity, that simplicity just struck my heart. I was like in awe of him. I was like, here, right here is my own personal dose of sunshine, my own Dumbledore, my Santa Claus, my father figure, my best friend, everything. And then you get to realize why he has been given that title of Pitamaha, because and not just Pitama, I think he's a divine mother also, because when you see him with Swarnamala ma'am also, when those two are together, they're both the embodiment of divine feminine and divine masculine, and it's like they both balance it in each other, and it was just beautiful. And I think it was that day when I met him, it was like a stamp. I was already there, that this is not trying for me, I have to be in this is where I belong. But when I met him, I was like, I am in the right place. I am not leaving this man or this family ever. This is my family, this is my extended family, this is the life that I want to lead. These are the virtues I want to stand by, and these are the values I want to imbibe and teach anyone and everyone I meet in my life. So that is exactly what happened in 2016 January.
Wow, that's amazing, Radhika. And yes, I mean, I've actually heard many people when they first meet Patriji, it's more of so much of expressions are coming out that it comes in tears.
Yes.
You cannot express it. You cannot put it in words as to what exactly you're feeling, and the tears just flow and flow and flow, and we do not know why those tears are coming. So that is something very unexplainable, completely unexplainable, and that is the beauty of it. And so tell me about this tarot cards, and how did you get into it?
Oh, okay. So I think I was always this kid who was interested in astrology and all the mysterious, esoteric things. With time, I don't know. I started getting signs that my sixth sense, my psychic abilities were at par. And if only I knew how to hone it, how to work with it. I know that my third eye was active since my childhood. I had an inkling, but it was only in 2015 when suddenly one day I started meditating out of the blue. And I did not mention it before, but it was surprising that when I had sat in meditation in the month of October, that was during the Pujo time, the Durga Puja time, I was not introduced to Anapanasati, and it was in December only I got to know that I was meditating in the Anapanasati meditation form only.
Oh.
Without knowing, I was sitting the same way. I would not know the science behind it, but it was like my soul was already guiding me to do what it was, as if I have been a pyramid master since I don't know how many lifetimes, or the future lives, or past, or whatever it was. But it was beautiful, and it was only in that year that I started getting attracted to tarot, to oracle cards, to the science of it actually, not the hocus pocus that people would do. And with that, I started meeting the right people, people who were actually, you know, not just kind of, practicing the art, but practicing the science along with it, to understand the that respect, that, or the love that these things hold within their vibe. It's just beautiful. So that is how I started getting. And then after coming to PSSM, women have been my strength of pillar. So I met many masters. There's a master in Delhi, so she introduced me to angels, and there was the first time I got to know that Archangel Michael is someone who you can just call and they're there, and it is only your ego which is blocking you from, meeting all these ascendant masters or the angels or the spirit guides. So it was in that same year, in 2016, that is, when I got to know about all of this, and then the journey just began. I was always interested. I think needed one push. And then once I opened myself to this horizon, I started getting messages. It was just happening. But the only underlying thing was that I meditate. Because if I don't meditate, if I don't do my practice of meditation, what PSSM really stands for, if I'm not doing that, everything else is just a sham for me. Like I'm not standing by my own value, because I know when I meditate and I do my practice, it's more powerful, it's more beautiful. The energies come out more beautifully. My intuition is heightened, and I know I'm more in tune with the tools, because in the end they're all tools. For example, a pyramid is a tool. These are also tools. So I remember once I asked Sir, so is it okay if I use cards, if I'm using oracle cards, if I'm using tarot cards? He said, they're beautiful tools. Use it, but only use it for yourself. don't go, because sometimes it so happens that people start believing that they are doing something. And that day I understood he did not mean to say that I can't help others, but realizing that here I am not the star that I am helping others. I am but a small medium who through meditation is getting a lot of information. And if I can enable, like how he has enabled a lot of people, so I can enable people and they can enable others. So we will always be just the medium, and everything is happening through us. So I think through that, and his insights, his words might not strike you at that point in time. Later, as you grow in your life, later as you move forward, later as you go back to his words, and my God, his words always ring in your ears. If you believe in him, the words will come back to you. They will come and teach you again. So he's never not there. Every moment, when you're walking in your life, he's there to hold you. He's there to tell you, this is right. This is right. There's no wrong when he's there. There's always right. So if you're going in this direction, you might have to go A, B, C, D. But if you go in this direction, there's only A. So there's a straight dot. You don't have to go in circles and come back to that same point. You just go in a straight line and everything is straight. So I think that is how that journey began. So when he said that those are the tools, I have to use it as a tool. And I think I have started using it as such. And it has helped me a lot to grow. It has helped me to realize that, for myself, that I am something, that I am beautiful, that I deserve to be loved. This is who I am. And they're always hearing me. They're always, there with me. My cards have that kind of energy. And when I hold them, it's like I'm talking to my best friends. So sir telling me that those very words that day, and then me being here, I think it has been a beautiful journey. Being on that path, using those esoteric tools, and being the pyramid master that I am. I think everything has panned out beautifully for me today in these 5 years, I would say.
Wow. I just got goosebumps. It's such a beautiful thing. The way you explained it, it does, because his words are very deep, very, very deep. And as you said, it may not even not it may not strike you at the right moment. But then yes, as you know, as time goes by, as the words sink in, that is when you realize the real importance, the real meaning of those words, and how much impact that message has. It may be a very small word that
Yeah.
we use in a regular basis, but that small word has a huge meaning, and it will really transform your life.
Yes.
So yes, even I have experienced many such things, and uh, fortunately, being with him most of the times, I think that is when I grasp as much as I can whenever I'm with him. So yeah, and tell us about your life as a plant-based food. Like, how was your life before and after, or were you a vegetarian your entire life? Tell us all about it.
Okay. So I've been born in a Khatri family. Most people won't understand, so I'll simplify it for them. So the clan is the Punjabis, but we are UP Khatris.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not. It was not a non-vegetarian family per se. Like there are people who are non-vegetarians since their childhood. They've been. So I was never served non-veg when I was a child. But yes, eggs were a big part of my life through my childhood, I would say. Maybe a little later in my childhood, but it was a part of my life. And at that point in time, I used to relish it. I used to relish it, and I'll speak everything without sugarcoating anything. I'll just speak truth because I think it's very important to be authentic. Not because I'm here and I'm here with Parinita Patri, and because she is a plant-based person, so I would just say hocus pocus.
No,
And
no,
no, and I think today she's empowering me. The reason that I have come here is because she empowered me to be here. She said, just be there and just tell your story, and that is exactly what I'm going to do. So it was a big part of my life being a vegetarian, and I think it was later in my childhood that I was once introduced to non-veg also. And I remember that I could not take it in. I vomited it out. I was like, this is not for me. And for the longest time, I was still consuming, I was a vegetarian, but I was not a non-vegetarian. I think it was when I was around, and I clearly remember the age, the years of my age. For some reason, I don't know why. Maybe this is because I had to share my story to everyone on this platform today. I think I was around 12 or 13 when I started consuming non-veg. And I think somewhere it did track me back. I was still the mystical person that I was, and I think I've been a very mystical person since. And I won't say mystical, but I was always a within myself. I always knew there was something not very normal about me, as people use this word normal and abnormal. It was only later in the years that I understood that I was always attuned to my own spiritual truth. And that is why non-veg never worked out for me. So I started consuming non-veg, and I remember once I fell very sick and ill because I had come to my uncle's place in Delhi, and then very happily I had certain dishes, and I would not mention what, but it was non-veg. And as I was back in Kanpur, I fell sick, and there were a lot of paranormal stuff happening at that point in time. Anyway, the things went down. I used to get headaches. I know lot of things used to happen, and I was someone since my childhood who was. And please understand, whatever I'm sharing today is not woo woo. It's very scientific. All of these things happen, but it's only when you start believing that it might, as you start understanding that, when spirituality holds everything, negative and positive is all here on this earth, and we have created it. It's a matrix. So it's all there. It's just about understanding the science of it. And I was under psychic attacks a lot of times since my childhood, and that was the biggest I had in my life, to an extent that I had to take external help. Anyway, life moved on. I got completely fine, and for the longest time I was not consuming non-veg or eggs, but then it started again. I was like, it's okay, it's okay, life goes on, everything is fine. It started. So now I'll jump directly to 2011 when I came to Delhi for my higher studies. I was coming here for my graduation. So what happened is when once, and I was going to be all alone. So once you are all alone, everything changes for you. I was not getting home food. I was ordering tiffin, or then eating out of the canteen in my college. It was habit to have momos every day, and not veg momos. Those were non-veg momos. Every day I would have it. Every day I would have it. So something that was very rare occurrence in my life, to have non-veg once in a while, once in a blue moon in the year, it became like a daily practice. Even if it was one meal, I was addicted. If not every day, alternate days, or at least twice or thrice in a week, it was happening. And what happened again? The paranormal activity started. And I've shared this a lot of times, but I would want to share it with everyone today. If you're a new audience and if you want to take this, please take this. So I remember I used to hear all sorts of noises around. My PG was in a secluded place, and I used to hear noises. Weirdly, I would wake up. My room partner would be there, and I would ask her, Didi, can you hear something? And she was like, no, I can't hear anything. I think you're mistaken. And every night I used to hear at the same time. There's this pattern time I used to hear those noise. And it was, I remember it was, I used to hear the voice of Payal, Pajib, that Indian women wear. It was Payal ka awaz. And it was not a happy. So it's sometimes, when Divine Mother is also visiting you, you can hear those kind of voice, but it was not a happy vibe. When I used to hear it, I used to feel scared. And I think by that point in time, I was very attuned to my own energies, and I would know, if something is okay, and if something is scary, and if something is, even if I was not so attuned, I was somewhere attuned, and I could make out that, that was not a very, happy voice. And it continued for a month or two. And I remember one day what happened is I was with my friend in my college library, and I was in the secluded area, and I don't know, there was this, and I was just searching, where is she karke, and I just kind of murmured to myself, where is she? And the moment I did that, there was like a whoosh of voice, she's downstairs, happening in Hindi, of course.
Okay.
It was happening all in Hindi. It's like, she's downstairs. The moment that whoosh is gone, so it's happening, and my phone rings. Is my friend, and she's like, I'm downstairs, come down. Exactly what the whoosh said, and I was like, okay, something is happening, and this is not okay. This is not normal. And I don't know, somehow as I was walking down the stairs, because I was studying in Gargi, and I did philosophy honors. So my college library is well stocked. It's beautiful library, and it has 2 floors. So I was I was on the upper floor where we, we can study, we can read and sit and everything. And there's a part which is secluded where only the research books are kept. So I was there. And I was scared to death. And as I was walking down, I don't know what, and your guides are always there. And now I realize it, because the same time, there was this very strong thought, Radhika, you have to leave non-veg. This is all happening because of this. And I think, incidentally, because all those psychic attacks had happened before, and it was not very, it was fresh in my memory, because I remember the last that happened, the Delhi and Kanpur thing that I told just now, was when I was in class 8th. So that happened, and I was like, okay, I have to think about this, and I have to sit on it. That night, what happened, as I slept, and I don't know if I was dreaming, if it was really happening, but obviously, even if it was a dream, it was for real. Master Hanuman had come to me. And it was only because of him initially also that I got rid of whatever was happening, those psychic attacks. So he has been a very, very driving force in my life since my childhood. He has been my best friend, my brother, my everything. I've like always connected with all these deities that we go do puja in mandirs. I always used to go and converse with them. Like, what are these people doing? Ghanta Ghadial, I don't understand this. So I've always been that person. So, and as he came, and the way you see the ascendant masters, the same way they talk to you. If you have that puja archana bhav, they will always talk to you as if they are the guiding forces. If you treat them as friends, they will guide you as a friend. They will always talk to you as a friend. And he's like, dearest, you have to leave. Your soul is in pain. you can't do this to yourself. Your test is over. You have to now stop doing it. Your purpose is done of consuming it. And I was like, okay, hold on, wait a minute. What is happening right now? I don't understand this. But that energy, it was so enveloping. It was so beautiful. It was just mesmerizing. And it's like, okay, okay. And this was 2012, by the way, when this happened. It was 2012 when the great ascension had happened, when people had started realizing, there is something more to them than just being in this physical body. And I think it was my starting. So my starting point was actually 2012 when I started becoming very aware of the pain of Mother Earth, of these animals. And I was like, this is the end. And always, I remember, even as a kid, if I ever consumed it, I always used to feel very guilty. Very guilty. वो जीभ पे स्वाद है. The only thing was that, that you have that taste on your tongue. That's it. That's it. And post that, it's just guilt feeling. And so much guilt that I used to cry in the night, because I have been someone who's very empathetic towards, and I would go run behind the puppies and the kittens and everything. So I think that was the day when I realized I can't be selectively loving animals. If I love animals, I love animals. And I love the chickens also, I love the goat also, I love everything. Though I could never consume anything more than the chicken. But the thing is, the chicken is a chicken. It's a living being. You go hug it and it'll hug you back.
Yes.
So it is not supposed to serve your plate. It is not supposed to be on your plate. That is, and and all those people, and I have to mention this as I'm telling my story, all those stupid people, and they're really stupid when they say that the population will increase and this that. The population is not increasing on their own. They've been breeding them like crazy. It is not naturally what is happening. It is happening because the poultry sector wants it to happen. They don't have so much capacity to lay eggs every now and then. It's been done. Not in the natural way. So stop giving stupid excuses just because you want to consume it. And I think that was the day. I was like, this is a full stop for me. If anybody wants to have it, whatever, because my friends were still consuming it. At that point in time, I was like, I have to have a non-judgmental outlook towards this. Let them do whatever they want to do. I will do what I need to do. But I think through the years, since PSSM happened to me, I think I have become very aggressive in terms of really. I've become a kind of a rebel, that I can't understand why people are doing what they're doing. But I think now I've come to a balance. Like, you have phases, right? It's like, okay, it took me time also to understand. And if I am going to be judgmental, I'm actually breaking one of the 18 principles of PSSM. So I have to be non-judgmental, come what may. And I can always be loving towards everyone, because we don't know what is their take or whatever is happening. But yeah, I think no matter what, I stand very strongly for vegetarianism. I'm yet to become a vegan, and I know I will become a vegan, both me and my husband. We've been in conversation that, we really want to start that lifestyle. But once things are moving forward, I know it's one step at a time. I think we will start soon. I think I will want to leave curd, because that is something I can leave everything in the world, but I can't leave curd. So,
Yeah.
and I've got this habit of calling it Pergu, because you go to Shastris and you're like, you can't have it with, like, the end meal has to be dahi chawal, has to be Pergu and rice. I was like, I can't leave that. But yeah, I think you have to test your own limit. But in time, because I have to be realistic to myself also. I know it will happen one day. But till then, I am a hardcore vegetarian. No meat, no mushrooms, no garlic, and spread as much about vegetarianism as I can. So that is what I'm doing as of now. So
Yes.
yeah, this is my story. A little weird, but yes, here it is.
No, not at all weird. Not at all weird. It's who you are. You expressing yourself, and the unique you that you are actually expressing that, and there's nothing weird about that. You are as beautiful, as natural as you can be. So nothing to worry about that. And about becoming vegan, take your time, no hurry. Everything
Yeah.
has to come from inside, because it came from inside for me. It was a
Yes.
more of a very deep intuition, very deep, like, it's like hitting me. And that's the reason
Yeah.
why I gave up. I just dropped it. I was not like planning to do it.
Yeah.
I there was no plan actually. The moment, why this happened is because I happened to watch certain very very disturbing videos, and
Oh my God. Yeah.
yeah, that like hit me so badly that, um, am I really being compassionate? I was like, no. And I asked so many questions to myself, and it's like, no, 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 no. And like, I'm done with it now. I'm giving up all the animal products on my plate, on my cup and glass, and I'm going to become totally plant based. And I had witnessed so many changes in myself, and that is the reason why I had started this challenge, so that people can also try and experiment on themselves and see for themselves if at all there is any change in them, in their thoughts, in their emotions, in their body, whatever it may be. So just give them a chance, like, try to do it, experiment on yourself. If it doesn't, that doesn't make sense to you, no problem, go back to your earlier lifestyle. So you just have to try to experiment on yourself, and that is the reason why we have put up this challenge. And I hope people
Yes.
are onto it truthfully and religiously, and I hope it works out well for them. So that is about it.
Yes.
And
And I think,
yes, yes, Radhika.
and as you're speaking, I think there's also one thing that a lot of people would struggle with the fact that vegan products in India are too costly. So I think also I would say now that India is growing, and as we are doing this, and Swag is up for everything that we do, it's the message to anyone and everyone who's listening, especially the government, that please do this. A lot of us, we know how to make those vegan products, but a lot of people don't have that kind of time. Luckily for me, today I have time to do it. So I did try oats milk. Actually, I made oats milk once, and I used to make cold coffee from them. It was tasty, as it was amazingly yummy. I tried oats milk coffee, and it was really cool. So I know that is something that I would love to carry forward. But yes, and it's a common struggle, and I think we should talk about everything. Vegan products in India are too costly, so we would. I think it's from all the vegans, and I'm speaking for all of them. No matter how rich or poor or mediocre they are, there's no rich poor other ways. But energy exchange for everyone might not be possible. The kind of amount that needs to be exchanged for the vegan products. So I think that cost should come down, so that more people can try it. If they don't have time, they can simply go buy that almond milk or the oats milk, or the soy milk, whatever is available. A lot of people have allergies from soy. Soy is the cheapest vegan milk that is available, but a lot of people have, and it's genuine, a lot of people have allergies from soy. They can't consume soy in any form. So for them, what do? They can't go vegan. Again, it can also come as excuse for a lot of people, but again, there are a lot of things that people can try, whatever can happen. But I think, yes, there are a lot of things that can be tackled, to make it easy for the consumers to consume products more. And but also, again, the demand has to increase. So if more and more people become vegan, the demand will increase, and as the demand increases and the supply is less right now, people will think of means to produce that kind of products more, and it will eventually go down. So I think it's a give and take system, and I hope that happens soon. I don't know why I'm saying all of this, but I think I had this in my heart for the longest time. It's like, today is my chance. I will say this. Oh God, today is my chance.
Bring it on, girl, bring it on. No problem. This is just an open forum where you can speak anything that you want, not a problem at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, so as far as expensive is concerned, I usually make coconut milk at home, or a peanut milk, or, as you said, oats milk. These are very cost effective, if I
yeah,
have to say. And other than that, if you want to go for a packaged almond milk, yes, they are expensive.
yeah,
Tofu is not expensive, so it's just as costs as much as paneer does. So just try to find the cost-effective ways and try to make it as much as as possible at home. So you do not tend to spend much on
Much money, yes.
yeah, much money on that. So yeah, that is one thing which this thing. But nevertheless, the more demand we create, I think with the more supply we can get, the
Yes.
lesser the cost becomes.
Yes.
So, so that is where it happens. And yeah, you don't have to become vegan, but try to use as much less animal products as you can. I think maybe that can help, a lot over here. I mean, you don't have to be completely vegan, but
Yes.
minimize the usage of animal products. I think that will suffice. Uh,
And these products without milk, without any animal products, they're just scrumptious. They're so tasty and so light on your stomach. I remember. So here we have Burma in Delhi, and they give you. So they have Sattvic option also available. Where it's vegetarian first of all. It's a vegetarian. It's a fully vegetarian place, and they have Sattvic option also where they don't serve you garlic. So they have all the what do you say, the condiments and everything without garlic, so it's amazing. So I had this thai curry there which was made with coconut milk. It was, the quantity was so much, but and we had already worked on food, but it did not feel like something has gone in your stomach. It was just so light, it digested so easily. And when these little things, you become so aware of your own body, that when you're consuming something feels so. One cup of coffee with milk feels so heavy, rather than one glass of oats milk coffee. I was like, and I was like, I will have one half in a glass more. And it's like, oh my god, where is it going? I can't feel it in my stomach. And you feel so full also, without any heaviness. So I think, though I'm yet to become a vegan, but I have tried vegan products and it's simply amazing. People should try. And all the vegan recipes that are available online that you can try at home, they are just very tasty to avoid. It's like we are all foodies. Everybody has some or the other, some liking or something. So I think just try it out is what I'd say. Because I keep trying it out. Because somewhere I have that intention. I think intention matters. Is the first step. My intention is to become a vegan one day, and for the masses to become vegetarians and vegans, of course. So I think that intention has helped me to keep trying out vegan dishes also, which is absolutely amazing, I think.
I think that's the reason why this program has attracted you, and you are here right now in front of me.
Yes.
So yeah, and you are currently a vegetarian. So tell me, if you wanted someone to turn into vegetarian, what would you tell that person, and why should someone turn vegetarian?
I think the first and the foremost thing which I had not even ever given very, very acute attention to, even when I had turned a vegetarian. I was aware of the pain, that I could not hear their cries and the pain that they go through. But after coming to this place and after reading the 18 guiding principles about the not consuming non-veg and what Teresa used to say, I think I became more aware of the pain that they would go through. In a more, I would say, what do you say? Like knowing it something briefly and knowing something deeply. So that was the difference that happened. I think that is what I want to share, and I would tell, and I do tell everyone that when you're consuming non-veg, you're consuming their tears, their fears, their pain, their all the feelings of helplessness or anything that they go through, plus any disease that they have in their body, any traumas they've had in their past. So it's just not human beings who go through emotions. Animals do have emotions. They are living, they're walking, living, talking animals, talking not like us, but in their own expressive ways. Just look into eyes of a cow or a dog or a cat and just see how they communicate. It's just beautiful. And I've been doing this since my college days, because and it's very funny that today I can be a dog mom to like 1,000 dogs at one point, and I was literally scared of them. So scared, I would start howling or crying, and I don't know where that fear came from. But I think once I was in college, once I started living on my own, once you start living on your own and you go out of that cocoon of your family and that, come out of that shell, you start exploring things. And that was the first time and I was in my college sitting on the stairs, and suddenly this dog comes to me, and I think it was in class 11th or 12th, I think, that my fear had gone very down, because I had some pups and dogs in my family. People had pets, so that fear had gone somewhere. But still stray dogs used to scare me a little bit. So I just held my position, and then that dog was slowly walking to me, and just sat beside me and just looking at me like this. And I was like, what is this? What is this magic? What is this sorcery happening right now? What is this creature doing next to me? I was feeling so loved at that point in time. So loved. It was like looking at me like this. I was like, okay, this is something. And I think I started attracting more animals towards me. They would not even bark. Like, I've seen so many ferocious dogs near me, but they don't bark at me, no matter how ferocious they are. They don't, because and I think that was also when I decided to become that person, that vegetarian person that I am. It was recently in the recently this our SSIM event that happened, where somebody had asked, that she has cats, and cats are supposed to be non-vegetarians in their being and what. The thing with animals is, not every animal is born a carnivorous. They do need taurine and whatnot, but they can be given vegan food, and God help us, there is vegan food available for kittens and dogs out there. For that matter, so in my in my home in Cuttack, we have a very cute pet friend. Her name is Lucy. She's a pug. She's a pug like Joy, and she's the most beautiful angel we have in our family. So I actually ordered vegan food for her, and she loves it.
Mhm.
She loves it. It's like her snack sometimes. She is such a cutie. She actually she sleeps under a pyramid. She is a total, and when you learn through animals. Animals are the greatest teachers. You learn through them. Hello. Oh my God. Hi, cutie. Oh my God.
This guy is 100% vegetarian.
Oh. Oh my God. Yes. Every pyramid master is a vegetarian, and so is Joy and Lucy. Akka, you won't believe, her phases change with full moon and new moon. She is actually aware of them. She would stop eating. She will eat less. They're such great teachers. Oh my God, you see them as like we are the hoggers. We keep hogging on food, even if you don't have space in your tummy. Just because your taste buds are asking, you keep hogging. But she'll see food and she's like, okay, I'm not having it. She'll walk off like a model. And you're like, oh my God. You just look at them and they keep teaching you at every point in time. They're teaching you at every single step. And that is when you know that, animals are not here to be on your plate. And this is to everyone who can listen. You might be a dog lover, you might be a cat lover, but if you're consuming non-veg, just think for once. And I might be very brutal right now, but I keep telling them, imagine your own pet friend being on somebody else's plate. Can you take that? So just because the other animal is not your pet doesn't allow or give you the right to have that on your plate and eat it too. So, and if this does not shake them, I think I don't know what can shake them. And I keep telling this to my friends, to anybody, and today I don't care how they feel. I'm just brutally honest. I won't judge them. I would not say if you're consuming, you consume. I'll just move away from that place because I can't be in that vibration. I can't be on that table or be there. Even in my family also, they would fight with me and everything. They would say weird things that, you can't just walk off. But then in the end, they have started respecting my decision. They won't force me. And thankfully, most of my family members, I think 60-70% of my family members are actually vegetarians, which is a very therapeutic thing for me. And I know that because I come from a very conscious family, and everybody is a beautiful soul out there. And I know this. And I think I'm intending right now that everybody is going to be 100% vegetarian in my family also. So one pyramid master can do what not, and I think that is what we've been taught. I think now we're all like kids in PSSM, like, okay, so my childhood began in PSSM in 2015. So since my childhood, that is from 2015, I've been taught that one pyramid master can change the entire world. So I have to start with my family. So no matter what, I keep intending, I keep talking. Even if it's not happening, I would get irritated and frustrated first. Now I started keeping my calm. I keep saying what I have to say. I'll just say and walk off. I'll just say and walk off. I'll just say and walk off. And I know someday those words, will make the difference. Will make some difference, and people would, start accepting, start receiving, start understanding. So one step at a time, I think. So my message is this, just think consciously what you're eating, what is on your plate, and what you're consuming.
Yeah.
And as a fact, last thing that I would want to say, and I read it, that the butchers who butch, they have said it, that sometimes it happens that a part of that animal would have some elements which might be cancer causing. So that animal is suffering from cancer. They will simply just remove that part and sell it off. So imagine, so next time if you have breast cancer, cervical cancer, or this cancer, that cancer, and if you're consuming non-veg, just remember where it came from. Not just your thought, but from somebody else's pain too. So this is karma, and karma is right here. So it does not happen ki agle janam mein milega, next janam. There's no next janam. Even if there is next janam, but what is happening will happen right here. And I really believe in this. It happens. Whatever has to come in the next janam will come in the next janam. That is something different. But what you have to get in this janam will come in this janam, and it's not very happy. It's not very nice.
Yeah, it doesn't matter when it is going to come back to us, but our actions need to be right.
Yes.
Our thoughts need to be right, and our words need to be right. I mean, it will come when it has to come. I mean, we really cannot foresee when it will come back and hit us. It can be in this incarnation, after death, whatever it may be. That is not where we are going to, but our actions need to be responsible. They need to be compassionate, and we need to really respect and value and love these beautiful, gentle, innocent angels. We might say they are here not for us, not for our taste buds, but they are here to coexist with us.
Exactly.
To be able to really generate a compassionate heart in us, to be able to show that compassion to the vulnerable. I think that is where they are here for us, but they are here to be as our friends.
Yes.
Not to be killed and butchered and oh my god, that's so gross.
Yeah, it's really gross. Okay.
So nevertheless, moving on from the topic, and that we have started a project called SWAG.
Yes.
We are so excited about the project, and we are going everywhere trying to spread the message. And definitely being on earth becomes our responsibility. And we are here sending a message of saving water, adopting plant-based food, as well as planting trees wherever possible, and turn all the barren lands into lush green forests, and create homes for animals and the birds. Our dearest friends, they need homes to live in, because we hear so many stories. They are coming into the villages and they're attacking all the people. Why? Because they are losing their homes, and we need to create those homes for them. So how does SWAG appeal to you, Radhika?
Actually, it's quite close to my heart, because save water and go green is SWAG basically. So it appealed to me for the fact that I love Mother Gaia. So she is a mother to us all. And I remember this one incident where during the lockdown time, this one poem that flowed through me, and when it was flowing, it so happened that there were big, beautiful eyes of a cow, and there were tears in her eyes, and it was very mesmerizing. It was like And I know that at that point in time, the animal kingdom was talking to me through that cow, because it was just few meters of distance, not even meters, like nanometers or whatever you call it, from my room to my kitchen. And at that point in time, it was like I just got this energy powder. I literally went like this, and my eyes closed, and that cow came to me, and that poem started flowing. And it was brutal. And I was like, okay, something is happening through me, and I have to spread this message no matter what. So when I got to know that swag is starting, I was like, right here, right here, we can create love for Mother Gaia. Because what is PSSM not doing to to become, not just become aware, and this is very beautiful thing about PSSM family, about Pyramid Spiritual Society's movement, that we empower ourselves first, foremost, and then we go, then we think that we are, eligible to step out our houses and tell other people what we are doing. We practice in ourselves. So every swag warrior is a warrior because they practiced it. They literally practiced it, whether it is adopting greens, the plants, or or the animals, or saving animals, or saving water, as much as switching off the light. I think it's very important. So it appealed me to an extent where I think I've been spreading about swag a lot. And also my first and foremost, personally, are two things. One, all the polythene bags that I have in my house, I keep collecting them. I know at one point in time, whatever government, government kind of a thing, or an institute is there where I can actually donate those poly bags, so that they can create something of it, or dispose it of, or recycle it, whatever they can do. So I'll do that. I'll just dispose of all the polythene from my house, donating it to any plant or somewhere it can be used and not harm Mother Earth. And second is and this is for every woman, to switch to biodegradable pads. Menstrual hygiene is very important, but just think, and now that I'm, when I think about this, the kind of materials that we are using, it hampers our body. If it's synthetic, it's hampering your body. And you can literally talk to and I have no shame in saying this, because we are women and it's just a body part. Talk to your vagina when you're menstruating, and the kind of thing that you're using as your pad, is your vagina happy? Is your womb happy if you're using it? It's not happy for me personally, because right now I'm not using any there's so many products available now, cotton products, bamboo products. They're usable products available. So I think the first thing, and I wanted to share this on an open forum today, I think you have given me the biggest opportunity, Akash. I'm so thankful. I've been going crazy, like I want to share all of this, and today you've given me that platform, so I'm really, really thankful. And this is a part of swag also, so I'm going to switch to to bamboo products for my menstrual hygiene. And for my toothbrushes also, I want to switch, and it's just not want, it's an intention. So the last pieces of plastic toothbrush are now over, so the next batch will be bamboo toothbrush. So yeah, through and through a swag warrior.
Absolutely, you are a swag warrior, and there's no doubt, not an iota of doubt in that. And you have, you are an example of how a swag warrior is. And so, way to go, girl, way to go.
Thank you.
That's awesome work that you're doing. And finally, if you would love to, you can share your recipes.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I'll share oat milk recipe, because I tried it myself and I had so much fun doing it. The basic thing is, you can't have anything hot with oats milk. It's my personal experience also, and from the video that I learned it, I do not, unfortunately, I don't remember the video or the name of that wonderful person who was teaching this. But you have to soak the oats, in chilled milk, or in not even a normal water, little cold water. You have to soak it for 20 minutes, let it be there, and then just with the same water, you just churn it in a churner. It's that easy. Get a nut bag or a muslin cloth. Muslin cloth not so much, because it gets very sticky and weird. So if you get a net bag, it's very cheap, it's available anywhere. You just have to get one nut bag, pour it in, let it sieve off, and then just have it. It's that easy. It's like, ta-da! It's there. It's that easy. But the only disclaimer here is to not have hot coffee with that, because it will become thick. It will stick in the on the base. And if you want to have something hot with it, then it has to be very diluted, then the taste will go. So if you really want to taste that oats wala thing, that earthiness, if you want to get, if you really want to taste the oats milk, I have a cold coffee with that. Have any kind of cold milk shake, like that milk, the oats milk drink, whatever you want to have. You can have cocoa with that, you can have anything, any cold product, custards or anything that you want to make, probably. No, okay, not custard, because again you'll have to heat it. But yes, I think cold oats can be made. The cold oats is basically where you put in. So you will have to pour more oats into that thing, soak it overnight. Just put some, or you can just, maybe you can also boil the oats in warm water, then pour it in that milk, keep it in the fridge, garnish it with any kind of fruits or whatever you get, or yogurt that is not made with milk. You get vegan yogurt now, so make sure it's made with coconut or almond milk or something of that sort. And then just, I think it's very easy. You have so much, once you open your eyes and horizons, I think there's so many recipes available. So oats milk, I think, is the easiest. If you get a nut bag, it becomes less messier, and it's very easy to do. 20 minutes of soaking, churning, and then just draining it off. That's it, and it's ready. You have to do nothing literally. It's just a half an hour task. 20 minutes of soaking, I think another 2 minutes of churning it in the mixie, and then just pouring it in. So in 30 minutes you have your oats milk right there. And you have to just take 2 cups. You get measuring cups now easily available, so make sure it's 2 cups, not more than that. 2 cups, and I think you can just store it in the bottle, keep it there, and you can use it for, the shelf life is 7 days. So yeah, I used it for 7 days, and it was tasty, it was healthy, and it was fresh as heaven, actually, I would say. Fresh as heaven, yes. No negative words. No negative words. I've been very conscious. No negative words. I'm trying this actually to not speak any negative words. To be very very aware of my Vakshetra. So yes, trying it. Sometimes I slip. Oh, we are all learning. So I think the only thing I'm loving about this journey that I'm having right now is that I'm becoming more authentic. I'm becoming more resilient in my choices. And I think today, definitely, as you said, that I was meant to be here. So this opportunity that I got today was because I needed to learn from myself what all I have been thinking, and I've spoken here. I've learned from myself, and thank you, Akka, for this actually. Because seldom we remember that we are also our own teachers, and we are teaching ourselves at every moment. So whatever I said today, it was like a gentle reminder to myself that this is in my list, and I've not forgotten it. And I've not forgotten it, and you should be proud of it, girl, that you have not forgotten all of this, and you have to do it. So thank you for having me here. And I can't tell you, and I can't express you in words what you mean to us and the things that you're doing, both you and Paridhi. I think both of you have been like a magic bag for me since 2020. My life has literally changed. So initially, so I think the first time I had any kind of conscious what do you say, conversation with you was during the Sensei program, when you had come for the vegan thing. Before that, we were talking, but not really talking. But that was the first interaction. I had questions. You were answering so beautifully, and I was like, oh, okay, I have to learn from these women. I was like, if they can do it, anybody can do it. It's that easy. So I think that journey has been there, and I'm just happy that from that time, from that year to now, from hearing you on screen to now sharing the screen space with you, I think it has been a beautiful journey. So thank you again, actually.
Don't have to thank me. This was meant to happen, and I am grateful to you. And I think we share a mutual respect for each other. So I think that is where it ends. And I really, really, really want to thank all the audience who are staying with us and trying to take that step forward, trying to move towards a more and more compassionate ways. And my dear friends, please meditate every day. Please, please, please meditate every day. Do not miss a single day without meditation. Every day meditate, if possible, twice a day, once in the morning and once before sleeping. That will really do wonders for you. And try to bring some gratitude within you. That is the reason of happiness, not your relationships, not your objects, not your assets, not your achievements. Gratitude, uh, by trying to appreciate what you already have in your life. I think that will bring out the happiness, and you'll truly become joyful, truly become who you are, the authentic, the real, true you, my dear friends. So do meditation, read the beautiful spiritual books that you have in store. Uh, you ask it and it will be given to you. You just need to be ready to read that book, and you already have it. There are so many people, you can ask me or Ratika or any person in PSSM. They will give you loads and loads and loads of suggestions of books, because we have so many books to read. So one is Dhyana, one is Svadhyaya, one is Sajjana Samgitya. We need to share our experiences with each other, not to actually boast about ourselves, but it's a way of expression. Like, you know what, I've gone through this, I'm so happy. So that is what makes us share our experiences with each other, to celebrate uh, the you that you are, and the what you bring out of meditation. And then we have the pyramid power. Please try to sit under the pyramids and meditate. And please stop torturing animals. Please stop killing animals. Please adopt plant-based food, and take care of the mother earth. That's all I have to say. Because these are the pillars of Pyramid Spiritual Society's movement. And this, whatever it may change, but these won't change, because these
Ever.
are the strong foundations, the pillars of PSSM. And these pillars have been built by Brahmarshi Pitamaha Patriji. So we are definitely following this route, and we will be following this route till the end of our breath, end of our life, and that is all that it is. So thank you so much, everyone, for being with us, and be with us till 25th of February. Let's complete the cycle. Let's complete the 3 weeks of 21 days plant-based challenge, and let's see how it really impacts our life. So thank you so much, Radhika,
Thank
for
you,
being
Aka.
with us and sharing your lovely, lovely, lovely messages with us, by really bringing it on, that life, that energy, that you have spoken like a true rock star, like a true rock
Thank you.
star. And do you have any final message for us before you leave?
I think the only message that I want to give is that, Rome was not built in a day, and that's true. So baby steps, and I think I'm learning on the go. Every day we will falter, we will fall down, but that doesn't mean that we'll not pick up ourselves and then start again. No matter how many times you fall, please pick up yourself, please start again, and please do meditate. Do become a vegetarian or a vegan, whatever connects with you. But at least start somewhere. Start small, but do start, and I think that is all where it happens. It all changes. I think that's the only thing that I want to say as I depart from here.
Yeah, yeah. You're not leaving anywhere, so you're not departing anywhere. You're staying
No,
with us.
just yes, yes, just on this screen. That's
Just
that's
from the
all.
screen, yes.
Just on the
Uh,
screen.
because we're not going to leave you no matter what. So, yes, my dear friends, thank you so much for being there with us and listening to us. Really open ourselves out and speak our hearts out. Tomorrow, my dear friends, for the day 14 of the plant-based challenge, I will be debunking all the myths about plant-based food.
Okay.
I'll be debunking all the myths about plant-based food and what we have been thinking all this while, and what exactly the fact is. So tomorrow is going to be the day of debunking the myths. So stay tuned for tomorrow, and I'll see you again tomorrow at 5 p.m. sharp Indian time. Thank you so much. Namaste. Thank you, Radhika.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.